Today we are drafting from the 102 in a 10-team format. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Roman here. Today we are continuing our series of drafting from each spot in fantasy football for the 10-team format, and now we are drafting from the 102. Looking at the board so far, Jahmyr Gibbs comes off at the 101, and the only other option to take here is going to be Bijan Robinson, and that is who we're going to take. Again, the two best players in fantasy this year are Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, so we're going to be taking Bijan at the 102. If Bijan goes at your 101, take Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, high floor, high ceiling, super explosive. They're just easily the best options. Now, looking at the board so far and who has come off, pretty standard as to who actually comes off the board. Nothing too really out of the ordinary. Maybe Amon-Ra goes a bit later than usual here. But overall, it's pretty accurate to what you'll see. And with our second pick, we're going to go down and we're going to be taking a running back, and that running back is going to be Kenneth Walker. It's going to be either Kenneth Walker or Derrick Henry that you can choose between, and I really like Kenneth Walker. I like Derrick Henry as well. I personally, if I could, I would have taken Omarion Hampton or Chase Brown. I like those two the best out of all of them, but again, Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker are both going to be productive, both focal points in their offense, so we're going to take the shot on Kenneth Walker. I'm more comfortable with Kenneth Walker being my running back number 2 rather than my running back number 1. So I'm going to take K9 here. I think he's going to be pretty decent this year on the Chiefs. So him as our running back 2 is really nice, securing kind of that elite running back pair right here. Now we're going to be going through and we're going to be choosing a wide receiver. I know that Brock Bowers is here. He's super tempting, but I think the tight end position is one that you shouldn't draft early. In my opinion, I think you can get value in the tight end position much later, and I know Brock Bowers is really good. I can't say that he's not, but I think that him in the 3rd round is just too early. Like, he'd be more justified in the 4th round if I can secure an elite wide receiver now, but he's not going to fall to the 4th round. He goes much earlier, so there's not much we can do there. Looking at the wide receivers that are available, Rashee Rice is someone we're just going to cancel out right away. Him and Kenneth Walker both play on the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't like pairing up 2 skill positions on the same team, as if there's a bad week, they're both going to suffer. So therefore, your team suffers. So it's really going to come down between Olave, George Pickens, and Nico Collins. And out of those 3, I prefer Nico Collins the most. He's the true wide receiver 1 on his team. He's going to be probably the most productive. George Pickens is really good. I still stand on the fact that both him and CeeDee Lamb are both wide receiver 1s on their team, but it's going to be kind of weekly on who is more productive. So George Pickens, in my opinion, is a better wide receiver 2 than a wide receiver 1 for fantasy purposes. And same thing with CeeDee Lamb. I don't think CeeDee Lamb is worth the wide receiver 1 spot. I think he's worth the wide receiver 2 spot. But obviously, CeeDee Lamb goes in the 1st round. George Pickens is available in the 3rd. Chris Olave gets the extension. He was super productive last year. My thing with Chris Olave is the concussions. Like, if he gets hit wrong and he has a concussion, it's going to be super difficult. He's going to be out for a while, maybe the season. So Nico Collins, I think, is the safest bet for the last kind of remaining wide receiver 1 here. Rashee Rice isn't bad as well, but again, I don't want to pair him with Kenneth Walker. So we're going to take Nico Collins at the 302. He's going to be our wide receiver 1. And looking at the board, we see Brock Bowers comes off right after. You get a bit of a run of different types of players coming off the board. And then Colson Loveland comes off here at the 406. Josh Allen and Lamar both coming off the board as well. And looking at who is available here, I don't really like Tedero McMillan. I will say this. Him being linked to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers isn't something that comforts me, even though I know he's super talented. He can be productive, but I do really believe he's going to be capped out around the 13 points per game range, and paying for a wide receiver that is going this early that can average that amount does not just make sense in my mind. So the player I'm going to be taking here is going to be Ladd McConkey. I really like Ladd. I think with Mike McDaniel there, the offense is just going to elevate. He's going to be super productive, and him being the wide receiver 1 there is something I'd rather take than Tedero McMillan. And then I'm going to pair him up with Jalen Waddle here. I know a lot of people might be leaning towards T. Higgins, but with T. Higgins, there's a bit of a catch, and that catch is named Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow is healthy, T. Higgins is really good. He's around that 14 to 15 points per game range. But if Joe Burrow gets injured, which in the last few years he has been getting injured, he has been missing time, T. Higgins becomes fantasy irrelevant. The only person that gets targeted there is Jamar Chase. So I'm going to avoid T. Higgins. I'd just rather not take that risk right there. Jalen Waddle, he's a really talented wide receiver. He's the wide receiver 1 on the Broncos. They throw the ball a lot there, so I think he's going to be getting a ton of targets. He's going to be productive. I really like Jalen Waddle. So at the 609, the player that I usually like to take here is DeAndre Swift, but Swift is off the board at the 603, so we're going to be looking at the next best option that we have available. And David Montgomery, I think, definitely is very intriguing. I think he can be super productive, especially kind of being the true running back one there on Houston. He's not a bad player to take a shot on, in my opinion, but I'm going to probably take Quinshon Judkins here. As a Cleveland fan, I know the risk that comes with Quinshon. He's going to be more dependent on kind of touchdowns. If he doesn't score a touchdown, it's going to be kind of iffy, but he's probably going to be on our bench anyway. We can use him as a trading piece. And then the player I'm actually going to pair him with is going to be Travion Henderson. So again, those are two running backs that are going to be super boom or bust this year. Travion, I think, has a bigger chance of becoming more productive later on. That's why I kind of like having him on our bench. Like, I think Travion and Quinshon are better than Montgomery in terms of potential and what they can achieve this year. Montgomery, I don't know. It's just a bit iffy there, in my opinion. So I think those two are not too bad of kind of upside shots. Again, they're going to be on our bench. If you're playing double flex, you can toss one of them in there and have them as your second flex player. They're going to be decent. Again, nothing too crazy. Travion with the potential to explode later on in the season. So he's one of those kind of store and hope that he does well a bit later. And now looking at who else is available. Harold Fannin, nice tight end option, but I'm going to be taking Tucker Kraft here. I think Tucker Kraft is going to have a really good season last year, almost 15 points per game while he played. Obviously, it's kind of a bit skewed with the 1 week where he dropped an insane amount of points, but even then, he is a top target there in Green Bay, and he is projected to be playing in week 1. So I think he's a player that's worth taking a shot on here in the 8th round. I think he can be pretty productive and a nice addition to the team. We're not going to really need running backs anymore. If you're going to be targeting anything here with the 9th pick, it should be wide receiver. And looking at who is available, we have Jacoby Myers, Michael Pittman. I'm going to be taking Josh Downs. I like Josh Downs in the 9th round. I think that he has potential to be the wide receiver one there on the Colts. Alec Pierce currently on the PUP list dealing with that ankle. Probably going to play, but either way, Josh Downs is super talented. I think he's going to get a ton of targets this year, and I think he has a really good chance of becoming a nice producer. And again, he's the 4th wide receiver on our team, so it's nothing too crazy. We didn't pay a crazy price for him, but again, I think he's going to be really good this year. I like him, so we're going to be taking him there with our 9th pick. We're going to be choosing quarterback, and with the quarterbacks that are on the board, the one I'm going to target is going to be Caleb Williams. I have Caleb Williams just slightly above Justin Herbert in my rankings. I really love Justin Herbert, but with Caleb Williams being available here, I'm going to take him. I think he's going to be really good this year, so he's definitely a player I'd like to have on my team. Looking down at who else is available, I want to target Deebo Samuel here. I think Deebo Samuel with the 11th pick isn't a bad option. Again, wide receiver 2 on San Francisco. Mike Evans dealing with injury currently as I'm recording this video. He has the hamstring issue, something like that, and he's going to deal with that all throughout this year. He's been dealing with that with the past few years, and he's probably going to miss some time. So taking Deebo Samuel is kind of that potential wide receiver 1. Thinking back to the last season when he was a wide receiver 1, he was like around that 15 plus points per game range, and getting a wide receiver with that potential in the 11th round I think is really nice. So Deebo Samuel in the 11th round is definitely a good shot to take on. Looking at our team so far, again, we filled out all of our starting except for the kicker and the defense, and this is the point of the draft where I go and I take my GOAT, Brandon Aubrey. I think the 12th round, again, is not a crazy spot to take Brandon Aubrey. He alone can win you a week. He has the best foot in the game. He's really productive, and again, he's worth taking the shot on. So we're going to take Brandon Aubrey there. And kind of looking at the skill positions that are available, I'm going to go and take Stephon Diggs here in the 13th round as our wide receiver. Again, Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 2 in Washington. He's super talented. He is a bit with injuries and stuff like that, but he's a nice upside shot. He has name value as well if you want to make a trade or anything like that. looking through, we're going to be taking a defense now, and the defenses that are left, not the prettiest, I will say. It's going to be a bit tough with the ones that are available. Again, all the better ones already came off the board super early. We have the Texans coming off with the 10:08, Broncos going off at the 11:01, Rams at the 11:06, Seahawks. I think the team I'm probably going to be leaning towards is going to be the Chargers. We'll take them here at our 14th pick. I think the defenses here are honestly all pretty streamable. There's not really one that kind of catches your eye. Cleveland Browns aren't too bad, but I think with Myles Garrett being off the team, they're not as strong now. It's one of those situations where it's kind of like just take who's the best one available, and I think the Chargers are probably the best one available there. So looking at who else is really left, a ton of kind of waiver wire players at this point. Guys you're going to see on the waiver wire. Casey Concepcion's not a bad player to take a shot on, but with Cleveland, I will say the only player I really like there is Judkins. So I think with the last pick in your draft, there's two things you should do. One is take another elite quarterback like a Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is one of the last ones, or Bo Nix, that is going to be productive. I think somebody that doesn't have a quarterback that is the best might come looking for a quarterback later. Also, you can rotate again. He's a pretty good quarterback. Or you can go and take a tight end that you can stash as well. Dallas Goedert is here. Mark Andrews. Chig is one of the tight ends that I really like this year that can be productive. Most of these wide receivers and stuff aren't going to be productive. Same thing with the running back. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to take Brock Purdy as our last pick for the quarterback. And looking at our team now, if we go here, we have Caleb Williams as our starting quarterback, Bijan Robinson and Kenneth Walker as our two elite running backs. We have Nico Collins as our elite wide receiver 1. Ladd McConkey is our wide receiver 2. Again, I think the upside is there. I think Ladd is going to be really good this season. Tucker Kraft, top 5 tight end in the league easily, in my opinion. I think he's going to be super productive when he plays. Again, he's expected to be playing week 1, and if he doesn't play, you can toss him into your injury reserves and then just pick up a different tight end. There's still a bunch of decent options on the waiver wire. Jalen Waddle, another wide receiver that I think is going to have a really good season this year. The Chargers defense, again, more of that streaming type of defense here, but they're not a bad options. Probably the better one that was available. Brendan Aubrey, the best kicker in the league by far. I think that taking him in the 12th isn't too crazy. And if you didn't take him in the 12th, you could have taken him in the 13th. But again, you're almost by the turn, so it's better to take him here just in case. The CPU takes Worthy and Zach Charbonnet anyway, two players that I don't really look at all. So Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, a ton of upside there and potential in terms of running back, which is what you want on your bench. You want high upside, high potential. Josh Downs, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, a bit of vets here who will be productive and should be pretty productive depending on the week. And then Brock Purdy, another elite running back that is going to be pretty productive as well. Just kind of stashing him just in case if you want to trade him or something like that. So this is the team you're going to be building here at the 102. I think it's a really solid team. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know. But again, I think target 2 running backs early, as if you take 2 wide receivers or a tight end here, the running backs are going to get pretty weak as the draft goes on. So getting one of the better running backs early on is super important and something you definitely should be doing. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this was a bit helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one where we're drafting from the 103.